the June 13th special budget meeting to order and welcome everyone who is here tonight, both in person and watching us on YouTube. Welcome. As is customary for our meetings, I want to open with a prayer and the pledge. And I've asked Vice Chair Harris to lead us in the prayer and Commissioner Tony Braswell to lead us in the pledge. So if you would please stand.
Let's pray together. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we come to you this evening to thank you for the amazing and wonderful blessings that you bring to each one of us. Father, thank you for the opportunity to live, work, and to raise our families here in this wonderful place that you've provided for us. Lord, we ask that you put your hedge of protection around the military, the first responders, and all those that put their lives on the line that keep us safe and provide us with the freedoms that we enjoy today. Father, we ask your blessings upon this meeting and all that's within the sound of my voice. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Will you join me as we pledge allegiance to our flag? Present arms. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. One item before we get into the budget discussion, I think our manager, Rick Hester, would like to make, I guess, have a special recognition.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Just wanted to recognize a gentleman in the room here with us tonight, Rick Proctor, who's going to be, he's retiring as Director of Solid Waste after a fantastic career here and really moved our program notches along the way and done a great job, and a lot of times with very limited help. But I wanted to recognize Rick, and I don't know, Rick,
Come on up so we get you on YouTube. There. Right. Yeah, we get you on YouTube so people can see.
Thank y'all for giving me this opportunity. It's been almost 30 years now. I started in '93, and it's been an honor to be a servant to the public. I love all these people in my county, and we've worked hard to make an effort to strengthen the solid waste program, and I think we've done that. We got a lot of room to work, a lot of room for growth, and I hope we meet that head on. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Any comments?
We got a lot going on, Rick. We sure hate to see you go.
Well, I've offered to Mr. Hester. I'm still in the county. I'm available if needed.
Good.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I would just say, go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I just want to thank you for your service and years of leadership, and Johnston County is better because you were here, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Any other comments?
No, I do. Rick, I've been here a long time with you, and so I really appreciate what you've done. And we have come a long way under your leadership.
I appreciate it.
And exactly what we needed at that time. So I want to thank you.
Thank you.
And I would just say in my day job, I get an opportunity to see and visit other landfills and talk with them. So I really feel like when I hear and see some of the other places and where we are positioned going forward into the future, I'm thankful for what you've done in getting us where we are, and hope you get to enjoy all of your retirement as doing whatever it is that you want to do. And we don't call you and have to ask you too much, but I know we will. So.
But I'm leaving behind a really good staff, and they work hard, and they are the ones who make this happen. I appreciate them as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you
again.
Thank you. All right, moving on to our budget discussion. This is an opportunity for anyone who wishes to speak on the proposed fiscal year 2022-23 budget to come forward. And we do have an order I had mentioned earlier. I'll ask Dr. Ken Boham with JCC to come forward first, please.
Well, Mr. Chairman, good evening. Mr. Vice Chair, Commissioners. That was a lot easier to follow than the first time I was here when I followed Ms. Johnston County and JoCo team. So thank you. I was thinking maybe you might have a newborn baby up here, and I was going to have to follow that tonight. But I do appreciate that. And also, while we're talking about that first time, for the record, this is my second time seeing y'all. So you can't say every time you see me I'm asking for money, because this is my this is my second time. And as we've got our budget request before you, I do want to follow up with Ms. JoCo Teen, or Ms. Teen is it JoCo Teen?
Miss Outstanding Teen of Johnston County. outstanding team of Johnston.
Okay, all right. So anyway,
Can I interrupt once? I forgot to do something. So we do have Commissioner Smith, although he's not here in person, is joining us through Teams. So he's out of town, but he is joining us. So if you hear random, there's Commissioner Smith. So if you hear a random voice
Okay.
coming around, and it's Commissioner Smith. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
that's fine. I've tracked her down, and I have offered to Hayden if she wants to stay the course when she finishes her career and college courses with the college and high school. When she graduates, I've told her that I will guarantee tuition, books, and fees free for her should she decide to finish at Johnston Community College. Even if I have to pay for it myself, she's going to finish, should she choose to, at the college, because I believe in that. And that's part of the request that you'll see before you tonight. In fact, it's the $250,000 for tuition expense for JCC and for Johnston County residents. And we actually have, right now, 300 students that have graduated with at least a 2.6 GPA or grade point average, and they're Johnston County residents. And we can pull the trigger on those 300 students if you say yes to that request. So all you have to do is say yes, and we're going after those 300 students. What I'm asking tonight is for an investment in the college for the future of our children, those who want to go to work, those who want to enter a profession, or even aspire to go to the university. We want to serve. We want to serve your constituents and our constituents that want to be trained, want to be certified, recertified, and continue in their occupation to serve the citizens of Johnston County. I'm here to serve. We are here to serve. And with your investment in us, we'll produce an ROI, return on that investment, of a better future for our children, a stronger Johnston Community College, and a vibrant Johnston County. So I am humbly asking you tonight for that investment. I certainly appreciate your support in the past, and I do appreciate your consideration of our current request. Now, I want you to know I'm not a one-trick pony, and I'm not just asking you to invest alone. I have a $7.25 million request with Senator Brent Jackson right now, and we're also working on a $500,000 grant with Golden Leaf. So, not asking you to carry it all, and I just want you to know that we can be strong together if you'll make the investment in us. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
It's a good story.
That is a good story.
Any questions or comments, Dr. Bowen?
I did have one. There was some inclusion somewhere along in the budget request for $98,000 for engineering startup costs. Would that not have been part of the bond? Or
Well, it would if it were connected to the building, but in the breakdown, there are some non-recurring costs to the engineering building, which are janitorial supplies and other supplies that are a one-time cost to buy all that stuff and get it in the building and up and running. That's why it's a non-recurring one-time cost, is to get all that stuff in. It's not capital equipment. It's Well, it sounds like a lot of Windex and sounds like a lot of floor wax and stuff like that, but that's what it is. It's to get that up and running.
Is that 98,000 included in the $6 million request?
It is.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, any other questions?
It would, you say 6, Commissioner?
$6 million request, the manager's proposal has $5 million.
Okay, all right.
But the college is asking for $6 million and a $1.1 million in capital.
All right. If no other questions, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We just got to figure out how to get to yes. Thank y'all very much.
All right.
And, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to take you up on your ability to run. I do love my Beaver folks back here, though. I talked to them before I came.
All right.
And my partnership.
Thank you,
All
sir.
right, thank you. All right, next up, we have, at least what it says here, Johnny Pippin with the Public Library of Johnston County in Smithfield. I think they may be in the hall.
So what's this?
There we go.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Oh, one other thing I did forget, too. We usually recognize fellow elected officials from around the county when they're here. And I did want to recognize Michael Sims with the Town of Clayton, the council member there, so welcome. All right, Mr. Pippin.
Good evening, Chair Lauter, Commissioners, Mr. Kester, County team. I'm here for the representing the Public Library of Johnston County, Smithfield. I'm not going to take up too much of your time, but I do have a two-part presentation. I'm going to introduce Ms. Terry Lee, who's Vice Person of the Board of Trustees, and her son, John Taylor.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Pippin. Good evening. My name is Terry Lee, and I'm here tonight not only as the Vice Chairperson of the Public Library, but also as a mother of two awesome young men, Tony, age 11, and John Taylor, age 9. John Taylor, here with me tonight, just finished 3rd grade, and like many students in the county, recently had his Integrate Awards. He received several awards during his ceremony, but the award he is most proud of is the Library Award. John Taylor loves the public library. On the last day of school, his grandmother picked him up from school on the early release day and told him he could pick a place to go for a fun treat out. He picked the Public Library of Johnston County in Smithfield. A big history buff, he chose a book about the Vietnam War so that he could learn more about the war his papa fought in, and a book about Stonehenge because he thought the big rocks looked cool. I asked John Taylor to describe the feeling he had when he went to the public library. He said, quote, "I have good feelings, like I'm about to walk into a place of wonder. I'm so happy in the library being surrounded by the books because you never know what you will find. It is a fun place to be, and you can find a peace in the things that you read." In order to ensure that John Taylor and many young kids like him continue to have that experience when they enter the public library, we must invest in its human and physical resources. As one of the fastest growing counties in the state, Johnston County must have a strong library for its citizens. Within the next year, the construction will begin on one of the largest subdivisions ever in Johnston County's history. This subdivision, located less than 3 miles from the public library, will bring over 2,000 home units to the county. The library must be ready with dedicated staff and up-to-date resources to serve the growth experienced by the county. According to a January 2022 segment on WRL, 51.5% of Johnston County residents commute outside of Johnston County each day. This group of commuters includes highly qualified librarians who live in the county but have taken higher-paying positions in Wake County. The public library has lost many librarians over the years to the Wake County public library system. We need to retain these highly qualified librarians so that they may be able to select materials, offer programming, and design spaces to enrich the lives of Johnston County residents, especially our young residents. An article in the Journal of Early Childhood Literacy states, quote, "Libraries has always been learning spaces, but in relation to the early years, this role is now being formally recognized and resourced to a greater extent than ever before," end quote. Dynamic spaces in libraries are vital to offering programming geared towards young learners. We need to be able to renovate spaces to provide the best environment for early learning. The public library truly serves the citizens of Johnston County from birth through retirement. Continuing to provide high-quality services to the patrons of Johnston County without additional monetary investment will prove difficult. I ask you to consider the needs of the library and the services it provides to the citizens of Johnston County as you determine the 2022-2023 budget. Our increased budget asks include funds to pay our staff a wage comparable to those in surrounding counties and funds to renovate our children's areas. These increased funds will help us to continue to offer excellent resources and services so that we may be able to engage young learners like John Taylor, as well as support all Johnston County residents throughout their lifespan. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. Thank you for your time and consideration. Now Johnny will further outline those needs.
I was going to ask John Taylor, did she get it right?
Did I get it right?
Okay, just checking to make sure. Just checking to make sure.
I was going to give him my presentation.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you.
what school does John Taylor go to?
I get the Johnston
Good. Great, thank you.
He goes with my daughter. Yep. Thank you, Ms. Lee, for that. So I'm going to give you some numbers and just give you a little bit of play-by-play what we're doing at the library and what our ask is today. For 2021, our new card holders for the library are 8,518. Total patron accounts that the library has, this is Smithfield Library only, 91,000 plus. That's 46% of the county of Johnston that have a library card. Student accounts, we have 59,000 plus. Total checkouts last year were 83,000 plus. Reference questions answered, 28,000 plus. And total computer sessions, 40,000. Currently at the library we've got going on right now, we have summer reading for teens and children. So we have events and summer reading calculations going on there. We've incorporated our weekly story times back from the pandemic. Adult book club, and we also have therapy dog readers. We have children reading therapy dogs at the library. A couple projects that the library is going on right now. We recently got a $40,000 grant to purchase a holdings locker that we have in our library lobby. What this allows is patrons can retrieve their materials at any time, day or night, rain or shine. And we're looking at the Cleveland area as our next development for this holdings locker because it is an underserved library development. The other grant that we really got this year was a $15,000 grant to purchase Chromebooks and hotspots that allow patrons to circulate at any time to hopefully bridge the digital divide that we do have here in the county. And our biggest project we have is a children's renovation of that area. It's been 20 years plus since that renovation has happened during that time. The old clubhouse, if you remember, has been torn down. It was a fire hazard, fire code. We're looking to replace the carpeting that we have in there, tear up that. And we're also looking at establishing age-appropriate areas within that area, in that children's area. What I mean by that is having a tactile area for toddlers, having a middle school study area, and also having a flexible mobile workspace in that whole area for larger events that we can have. Right now we have a $55,000 commitment from the Library Board of Trustees for this project. Funding for 22-23 for the library is threefold. We do receive state aid. We do receive money from the town of Smithfield, which is about 20 to 30% of our funding ask, and then county is about 60 to 63%. This year we are asking for $843,160 from the county, and here's why. We would like to incorporate that money towards the county salary study that just came to fruition. We are 1.5 years behind on COLA for the library staff. We are asking for $50,000 in non-recurring matching funds for the children's area development. And we'd also like to incorporate and get back 3 part-time positions within the library. One fact that isn't known, because the county and library do split our funding, and county does do 60 to 65% of our funding, the county entities and county residents use our library 3 to 1 on a scale compared to the town of Smithfield. The cost-saving measures that the library has incurred over the past year and a half, we've gotten our fund balance back to the county recommendation. It was in the hole for about 2.5 years. We've renegotiated our insurance to lower costs. We've also done that with our telephone contract. We did do a reduction in full-time workforce at the library, but we've also gained over $50,000 in grants over the past year. Thank you for your time. Thank you to the Johnston County Board of Commissioners for listening to us. Thank you for County Management Team for listening to us as well, and for your continued support of the library. Thank you, and let us know what we can offer to help you all support.
Any questions for Mr. Pippin?
I do have
Yes.
one. Johnny, you mentioned several things individually, dollar-wise. Was that all incorporated in the $834,000?
That is correct, yes, sir.
Good.
Johnny, in regard to the town of Smithfield, have you got any commitment from them in regard to your budget request that they?
Last year was 270. We asked for 280 this year. We have not heard anything at that time. We're waiting for that to come out.
Okay.
I will say that my daughter grew up in the library much like this, and from the time she was old enough to come in there, through the reading programs, and Miss Elaine Foreman used to be there many years ago, and she's 32 now, but we have great memories of the library, and I would be scared to say how many books she read from the library, but it was a crazy amount. So, but it's a great program, and it does serve the people very well, and thank you for your work on that.
Thank you, and we look forward to our future and increasing those programs as well, too.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And next up, we have Partnership for Children, and I believe Chris Key is going to address us.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, wonderful to see all of you again. Excited to have you here, Ms. Stevens.
Thank you.
Welcome. I'm here on behalf of the Partnership for Children, and kind of third's a good place to go, especially I'm offering you guys a deal. I'm asking for all less money than those guys did. So I want to thank you for allowing us to come tonight. We have the Partnership for Children in Johnston County. Appreciate our ongoing partnership with the Commissioners to serve the needs of our youngest citizens. Today, I would like to report on what our literacy program has been doing in the community and discuss where the program is headed. We have 60 community leaders, parents, and representatives from organizations serving children participating on our action teams. The goal of these teams is to change the conversation of the citizens of Johnston County about learning and literacy. The goal is to organize all of these groups into a powerful countywide force to tackle these issues together. If you've ever been in sales, you know that someone has to hear your name or product at least 6 times before they remember or purchase it. We are carrying this philosophy over into our activities. We are working with pediatricians, parks and rec departments, churches, grocery stores, DSS, the Dolly Parton Library, the school system, and of course the almighty social media. We want these families to hear about the importance of literacy every time they go to the doctor, or play in a park, attend vacation Bible school, or even get a book or two in the mailbox every month. If they hear it enough, we believe, and studies show, that they will make reading a priority in their family. 70% of the county's children under 5 are now receiving free books every month in the mailbox. That's 15,000 kids. We have 2 of our largest pediatricians' offices and DSS participating in Reach Out and Read, where they speak to families about the importance of literacy and offer them resources to help. We have installed 3 story walks in county parks. As kids play, they can now walk a path and by stopping at multiple locations, read an entire book. We have worked with the schools to improve attendance at critical times. During a 3-month period this past school year, at a local school, we tested a program to increase attendance. The kids were told if they had over 93% attendance, they would be rewarded with a day of inflatables. The parents were also involved. All students who had perfect attendance for the week got their names put into a hat. A name was drawn, and that family received a gift card at a local grocery store. Attendance was as high as 96% one of those months, and over 94% every other month. The kids loved it, and the parents are still talking about it as well. We would love to take these programs that we know are working and continue to implement them on a countywide basis. We know we can make literacy important to the citizens of Johnston County, but it is going to take a village. The last 2 years, you have been very generous and invested $50,000 each year to the literacy program. This year, we would like you to consider $100,000. The purpose is twofold. First, It will allow us to take these tested programs into the schools, into more of our schools, to reach more doctors and do more marketing. This has to be big to work. Everyone in the county needs to be talking about literacy. Second, our friends at the state decided some time ago that we need to raise money for our local programs and raise it locally. They have set a percentage of our budget from the state, and it has increased over time. We use the funds we raised for the special needs part to meet this goal for a number of years. But with that in its completion, we are looking for this literacy project to continue on raising those funds. Our goal, if you choose to fund us, will be to visit the towns and request funds for them as well, and ask total from the towns to match the funds that you would give us to help not only reach our goals from the state, but also attack the issue of literacy that's affecting all of us. That's all I have. Questions?
Any questions?
I've got one. In one of the charts, it talked about exceeding widely held expectations. What are widely held expectations?
Looking at the charts. I'm going to turn and look at Karen. We have a number of partnership staff, board members here with us tonight.
Is that like saying what people generally think and know about certain issues?
If you would, do you mind stepping to the microphone?
Widely held expectations is the mark with our early literacy curriculum in NC Pre-K that says that they are on grade level.
Okay.
And so that's the chart that you're referring to, I believe, is the NC Pre-K.
Yeah.
For this current school year, that is the percent of children that are meeting widely held expectations from the beginning of the school year until the end of the school year for each of those
A lot of improvement.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Karen.
If not, I do have one. So you'd mentioned reaching out to the towns.
Yes.
And in Johnston County, we have, I don't know, 70% of our folks live in unincorporated areas. So is that, you have a mechanism to reach out to the Clevelands and McGee's and Flowers to try to solicit funds? I don't know what organizations
Well,
there
the
are.
townships will be the first ones that we want to speak to about giving us funds to do this work inside of their town city limits. If there are organizations, well, we're reaching out to organizations in any
Okay.
areas in the county to seek help, because there are many corporations, corporate funding, private funding that we need to do the work as well. So we're trying to open the door to as many sources of funding as possible. Yeah.
And we do, so the funds that we're asking for is about 25% of what the state requires us. So we're receiving monies from other places through grants, local, the Junior Women's League, civic organizations, Benson Kiwanis Club, so multiple areas. And then we also get volunteers from all over the county that can help us with a smaller portion of meeting those matches. But absolutely, we do receive monies and volunteers from all over the county, and not just the municipalities.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
I think that's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And next up, we have the Beaver Management Assistance Program, and I believe Mr. Willis is here to address us on that. And I think this is just an update, so you're doing the other Chris one better. And Commissioner Smith, I asked is if we're providing enough gap for you to ask questions, and if you had wanted to.
He may be muted.
All right, we'll take that pause as he's listening in. So, Mr. Willis.
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity just to come and re-talk every year about what BMAP is and how it pertains to your county. So in front of you, somewhere in the pile of paperwork, is the BMAP policies and procedures. So my name is Chris Willis. I'm the USDA Wildlife Services District Supervisor for the Western District. With me in the back, I have Jordan Alexander. He is the specialist that actually does the work in the counties. And we have a 10-week summer intern, Nicholas Ryan, with us as well. So we're not asking because it's already into the budget, but the total money for this year would be $11,000. And the way that happens is Johnston County, or each participating county puts in $6,000 per year. That's set up by the General Assembly and the BMAP Advisory Board. And of course, $6,000 wouldn't get you very much in the county, but how it offsets the cost is North Carolina Wildlife Resource Commission puts in $385,000, and you divide that number by the number of participating counties. This year, we're expecting 50 counties, which is the highest we've ever had. So Johnston County shares $7,700 of that. And then Johnston County also, for the $6,000, it gets you about 110 visits. And this year, Jordan actually is up to 207 visits this year. So Johnston County last year decided to go above and beyond to keep the landowner cost the same, which is $25 per visit and $125 per large dam removed. And that's did very well for us. That's perfect, right on line what we need. Last year, you actually put in 6,000 participation and 6,000 additional. This year, just so the numbers don't coincide and don't look the same, we're going 6,000 participation and 5,000 for the above and beyond, which will get you the same amount of work as you got this year. We also have a contract with the Department of Transportation, which is $1 million, which covers all 100 counties. And of course, we know from here on east are more Beaver inundated counties. So I'd say the DOT uses more of the work down here than we would in some of my counties up in the mountains. To date, he's also worked 19 total sites with 11 private and 8 DOT. 2 of the sites were very large, over 2,000 acre tracts. And the way it works is 15 visits is the maximum each landowner can get per property per year. Then after that, it's full cost. So both of those decided, hey, do what you can with the 15 visits and stop there till the next year. And last year, for every $1 spent, there was $6.42 in resources saved. That's what I have. Any questions from me?
I do.
Yes, sir.
How does a citizen go about, if he's got a beaver problem on his property or adjacent to his property, how does he get in touch with you guys? Or
The quickest way to go is through the Johnston County Soil and Water.
Okay, soil and water.
Yep, sure is.
And when I was a boy in Johnston County, we didn't have any beavers around here that I knew of. Of course, that was several decades ago. What's the trend right now?
Right now, they're saying the trend is at least 500,000 in the state. They're saying even if us as USDA plus private trappers caught up to 25% of the beavers, the population wouldn't be declining.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I'll just say that's some tough work. I had for some properties for a company I used to work for. We had some beaver dams removed, and I'm not up for that work. I can tell you that is some work. So
Well, I think Jordan can attest to it being almost caught up right now with it being almost 100 degrees. So,
yeah.
Did a beaver get his beard?
did a beaver get his beard?
Yeah.
He did. He had one last year, didn't he?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Willis.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have Harbor with Ms. Kay Johnson. I know you have some folks with you.
I do. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Kay Johnston, and I am the Executive Director of Harbor of Johnston County. I have with me this evening Ms. Ruth Anderson, the Chairperson of our board, Ms. Angie Poole, our Treasurer, and Mr. Michael Sims that are joining me tonight. For 38 years, Harbor has provided comprehensive services to victims and survivors of sexual assault and domestic violence. We have strived to assess the needs of our community in order to develop and implement programs and services. Meeting the needs of the citizens of Johnston County in this area has always been and continues to be one of Harbor's top priorities. For the past 6 years, I've had the privilege to sit at the helm of Harbor. I would be remiss to stand here and state that we have not faced challenges, both internal and external. But during those challenging times, Harbor has remained steadfast in ensuring that service delivery occurred uninterrupted. And I believe that our challenges have made us into a more viable organization for this community. What we know is that sexual assault and domestic violence is precipitated by power and control. I know that services that we provide on a daily basis do not meet conversation etiquette at any dinner table by any stretch of the imagination. But the lives that we touch are real people. They are our mothers, our grandmothers, our sisters, and even our brothers. They are the over 2,400 individuals that we have served to date. And they are the members of our families and our neighbors who continue to place Harbor as one of the top 5 organizations in the state serving domestic violence. Again, it's Harbor's mission to provide comprehensive services to victims and survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault. Harbor is not a homeless shelter, but we have experienced a 40% increase in homelessness calls within the past 5 months. Harbor is not a step-down program for those transitioning from incarceration, substance abuse, or mental health, but yet we receive these calls on a daily basis. I make this note of fact because to many of our citizens, Harbor is the county's agency to address these issues, but we do not allow them to go unaddressed. We make referrals on the behalf of these callers because we understand that stabilization is the key to becoming a productive and self-sufficient Johnstonian. Harbor is a temporary shelter for those who are in imminent danger, a core advocacy program for those who are in need of assistance in completing a domestic violence protective order. We are a sexual assault advocacy program for those as young as 14 whose assaulter refused to respect the word no. Harbor provides legal advocacy for victims and survivors who cannot afford legal representation and trauma-informed therapy because we understand that trauma is a cycle impacting children for years to come. But Harbor is not an agency that works in isolation. We are viable because of our collaborative partnerships. We collaborate with Johnston County DSS by providing support groups for their clients whose goal is family reunification. We are a partner with Johnston County Health Department. Dr. Pearson sits on our advisory board for the Sahari Center, as well as a new collaborative that will begin on Monday, which is a collaborative between Johnston Health Department, North Carolina DHHS, and the Wise Woman Project. We are also a collaborative with Johnston Health. Harbor currently has a satellite office that is called the Sahari Sexual Assault Response Center, located at Johnston Health Smithfield. We collaborate with the Johnston County Sheriff Department, the DA's office, and local law enforcement. It is our holistic approach to service that allows for survivors to seek and obtain a life free of violence. It is my hope that I have provided you with the understanding that although Harbor operates as a not-for-profit organization, that we are in fact an extension of the county services. A snapshot to our current funding, our personnel costs annually, we have 7 full-time and 6 part-time staff at $519,000. This does not include health insurance, which would be an estimate of $97,000. We have contract employees through our sexual assault nurse examiners at an annual cost of $130,000. We provide direct services to victim support at $10,000, and our operating costs average over $250,000. Like many entities across the county, the pandemic continues to cause unexpected challenges. For the past 2 years, we have not been able to host any in-person events, which the income or revenue is an anticipate of $75,000. Also, over the past 2-year time period, there was a reduction in VOCA funding, which are 2 of our largest grants, 34% through our sexual assault project, which is a competitive grant, and 50% from our domestic violence project, which is based upon population. This evening, I stand before you to thank you for your continued consideration for our reoccurring funds that I hope is in the budget for this year of $75,000. But I also stand before you and ask of you an additional allocation, the information that is before you. We understand that as we continue to move forward and also reaching and serving over 2,400 people to date this year, that's only the first through the third quarter. We average about 600 individuals served per quarter, which means that by the end of this fiscal year, would have surpassed our largest service yet while I have been here at the helm of almost 3,000 people here in Johnston County. And as Johnston County continues to grow, we know that the need for services that Harbor provide will also continue. One thing I always look for when speaking with our staff is just to make sure that they always take care of themselves. We talk about the trauma of those that we serve, but we also have to make sure, just like any essential services, that secondary trauma or vicarious trauma is not an issue with our staff members. I stand before you today, again this evening, to ask for your consideration, not only for our reoccurring funds, but also the non-reoccurring requests that we have made that is before you. Any questions?
Any questions?
Kay, what is VOCA?
Victims Against Crime Act.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm sorry, your total request is a 75 recurring that has been done previously, plus an additional 250.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Ms. Johnston, I heard that you said 2,400 clients served for the past year.
To date.
To date.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that as far as increase or based on past years, does it continue to climb in regard to the number of people that seek to get help through Harbor?
Unfortunately, it is an increase. I've been at Harbor for 6 years now, and these numbers, it appears that we're going to surpass 3,000, which is the largest that we have served since I have been here at Harbor, and that's through both domestic violence and sexual assault. What we have also began to see an increase in is sexual assault among teens. I went out on a case one morning about 1 a.m., a 16-year-old that had been sexually assaulted. And in her conversation to me, she said, he probably misunderstood my no. 16 years of age, and she indicated that her assaulter understood her no. So we understand that we are not only providing intervention, but at some point, and it is our goal this year, to provide prevention. We need to begin to educate our young people on what a healthy relationship looks like, so that we will not continue to see an increase in our young people being assaulted.
Can you talk to me about recurring and non-recurring expenses of the $250K that you're asking?
The $250 that I'm asking for are actually staff.
Okay.
For staff.
So it would be recurring.
It's reoccurring for our organization. What we are looking at, because of the decrease in our VOCA funding, which is our largest grantor, we receive over 50% of our, particularly for personnel, through the VOCA funding, through the Governor's Crime Commission grant. For the past 2 years, we knew that VOCA would decrease. VOCA is a federal grant that funnels through the state into our agencies as a sub-grant. We knew that we would see a decrease because of what they call the VOCA fix. In, I think it was December of 2021, President Biden signed the VOCA fix mandate. And so what does that mean? That means that beginning in fiscal year 23-24, then agencies such as Harbor that provides services for victims will begin to see a steady increase, a return to funding, not pre-pandemic level, but at least a 15 to 20% increase in order for us to continue to serve those victims.
I got to say, you're tough. You've been through a flood, and you're still here. But thank you for what you've done.
Thank you.
You're one tough person.
I believe in, this is home for me. And I believe not only in the mission of Harbor, but I believe that going off and to school at UNC Charlotte and wanting to come back home to make a difference. I've been at Johnston, I've been employed with Johnston County DSS. I've been the executive director of Johnston County Youth Services. I believe in making a difference in my community, and this is an opportunity for me to continue to do that. So I am very appreciative that I've been given an opportunity to continue to serve.
I do have one question. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on it, and I may be asking a question nobody else wants to ask. So is the $250,000, is that a one-time injection, or is that going to be a recurring request every year for a total of $325,000 a year going forward? You're smiling.
If I had my way, my wish, it would be reoccurring. However, I also understand that, again, we are appreciative for the $75,000. As I indicated here on my ask, it is really up to the commissioners. One thing that we are striving to do is to sustain our organization, to continue to meet these needs that we have. 3 ways that we're looking at sustaining that, if you don't mind me sharing.
Sure.
One, I just mentioned, is the VOCA fix. We do foresee, beginning in 23-24, an increase with the VOCA fix. Our second sustainability plan that we're looking at doing is our ability to increase utilization of our sexual assault nurse examiner program. In 2021, we had a hospital in one of our sister counties to reach out to us. They wanted to collaborate with Harbor regarding the sexual assault nurse examiners program, because Harbor is only one of 5 community SANE programs in the state of North Carolina. This particular hospital, as far as their emergency department, is as far as the capacity that they serve, is one of the top in the country. And they did not have a SANE program. They still do not have a SANE program. So what we're looking to do, particularly with our rural sister counties, because we know this is a need, if we can utilize our SANEs in order to conduct the forensic exams, then unfortunately, to say it this way, it meets a need, but it also brings revenue into our agency. And then finally, we are in the process of developing and implementing a marketing sustainability plan, because we understand that we can no longer rely solely on in-person events. We want to make sure that we are, our story, who we are and who we're trying to assist, that resonates in the community. And so we are currently looking on developing that plan for unrestricted revenue.
Okay. So I do want to bang on the drum a little bit more. So just to make sure, so we got the 75, we've got that. The 250 for next year, I think we've got that. So when we get to the 23-24 year, if you do have the VOCA fix, will you still need the 250, or is there a possibility that would be less? Are these other 2 items under here going to need the 250 regardless of the VOCA fix?
It is our goal that the VOCA along with other additional grant funds that we are currently seeking will decrease that ask from the county. Our goal, Mr. Commissioner, is the reoccurring amount of 75 for 22-23, that non-reoccurring for 23-24. I would hate to stand here and say I'm not going to come back and ask for any additional in 23-24. I would not do that to Harbor. But what I would say, what I am saying to you, it is our goal for this upcoming fiscal year to make every effort to get back to a place of sustainability. We are preparing to move back into our facility at the end of the summer. So with that being said, additional opportunities to really talk to the community, a community of individuals that have moved here, that are not familiar with our organization. We will do our due diligence to seek additional revenue through unrestricted dollars, which is, for us, is important, but also through grant dollars.
And at one time, there was some thought or discussion that some of this may be eligible for ARPA funds. Is that still a thought?
Based upon our information that we have received in reviewing that document, all the request of the 250 does meet compliance with the American Recovery funding.
Okay, I know this board has talked about using it for water and sewer and other infrastructure, so that would be something we would consider, as we look at our budget. So I don't think I have any other questions. I did want to say we all received a letter from the sheriff talking about the benefits and what Harbor means to Johnston County, and in particular to the Sheriff's Department. So I did want to make note of that. And I think that's it. Commissioner Smith, I'm going to see you one more time if you're there, if there's any questions that you may have.
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Mr. Chairman, I do have
Yes,
one
sir.
follow-up. You mentioned the sheriff's letter. You mentioned, Kay, about being called out at 1 or 2 in the morning. Did that include the sheriff's or law enforcement on a call like that?
On a call, this particular call was to Johnston Health, so I, in the position of advocate, went alone, but there are calls that we receive, not from law enforcement. One call that we received, a young lady was put out of her car at Sheetz, and she wanted to get back home to New York. Law enforcement contacted us. We were able to purchase a train ticket for this young lady to get back home. Those are some of the services that we work hand in hand with law enforcement. Also, too, with our Sahari project, sexual assault response project, Sheriff Bizzle was one of the first ones in leadership that signed off on that project, because he understands that it's critical when you're talking about prosecution of those types of crimes. So those are two ways that we collaborate with law enforcement.
Thank you.
And I will say the sheriff had intended to be here in person, but had a situation that he needed to attend to. Saw him right before I came in, so otherwise he would be here. And I'll just say, based on our many conversations, this is very important, to me personally. So I thank you and your team for what you do for all the folks in Johnston County. I know that we talk a lot about the women, but I know there's men and the children who are impacted tremendously like this. And one other thing I didn't hear you mention was human trafficking. I know you've talked about that in conversations with us, but I know that is a considerable issue that unfortunately has continued to grow in Johnston County. So if you want to take a minute.
I will take a minute. We are seeing an increase in victims as it relates to human trafficking. It's so unfortunate that North Carolina is in the top 10 in the country as it relates to human trafficking. About 30 days ago, I received a call about midnight. A young lady had stopped at the Benson rest stop, and she contacted our crisis line. She indicated that she was a human trafficking victim, and she was fleeing from another county. She had been placed in a safe environment, but she saw one of her handlers while she was at that particular environment. And because of fear of repercussions of her sharing some information, she fled to our county. Because currently we do not have services specifically for human trafficking victims. One thing that we will look at, and this is our goal of myself and our board of directors, to give you an idea about a human trafficking victim, it would be very difficult for us to house a victim at our shelter, because we don't know if that person is coming in as a recruiter, recruiting those who may already be there. So we have to be very careful when we serve the population, and we have to make sure that we have all the parameters in place in order to meet that need, because it's more than short term, 30 days or 45 days. Oftentimes with human trafficking victims, you need to be willing to serve them for up to a year to be able to prepare them to go back into society without that particular lifestyle. So it is here within our county. We are starting to receive calls relating to human trafficking, but as an agency, we were able to seek resources within another state, and we were able to assist that young lady in traveling to another state in order to meet her specific need.
Would you say some of these efforts some of the funds for these efforts would be a great injection to help you guys further move into a position where you could actually help help those victims. And I had 2 other questions too, but I think, it sounds to me like this is kind of a kickstart for future opportunity. And then if you would talk a little bit, I know myself, I wasn't aware at all how involved you are with the county and all the other resources in the county. Talk for a minute about the full-time collaboration with the magistrate's office and what that would accomplish. And then I also had a quick question. Do you guys, I saw here for a bilingual advocate, do you already have a bilingual advocate on your staff?
We do.
Okay, good.
We have one bilingual advocate. We are seeking to hire a second. We had to, but however, she resigned. The purpose for, it's great to have a bilingual advocate here at the courthouse. She's our court advocate. She not only assists those victims that are coming directly to the office, but there is times where she also translates in the courtroom. So that's essential. The sexual assault bilingual advocate, again, I don't know why I get these calls and these call out, but I got a call one morning about 3 o'clock, and this particular young lady was bilingual, and because my advocate was not available, we contacted the language line. The gentleman that answered the line to translate had only been employed with that particular agency for a week, and it was very difficult to hear, for me, his lack of compassion and understanding the language barrier anyway, his unwillingness to hear or listen to our sexual assault nurse examiner explain to him what she needed so that he could explain to the victim so the victim could understand. So it was at that point that I knew that we need a sexual assault bilingual advocate so that whoever comes through our door needing services, particularly when there's a language barrier, that person is on staff. When you talk about the human trafficking, and you're correct, oftentimes this is how we may get, victims may come into our agency. Again, and I tell stories because I hope it helps you understand that that's the best way for me to really share our need. There was a 16-year-old young lady. We got a call one Sunday morning. Her father actually brought her into our organization for services. She had been living with her friend. Her friend took her to a house, and at this house, she stayed there. This was not, and they were not living in Johnston County, but they were living in another county. She was staying in this home. The gentleman that owned the home assaulted her. I asked her the question, because she had a car, I said, why are you still going back and forth to that home? Just based upon her conversations, she, as a 16-year-old, was being groomed. She didn't realize that, but she was being groomed for human trafficking. She also indicated that the gentleman had a younger daughter, age 12. And so the daughter would invite her friends over to the home. So when you hear those types of stories and you hear a 12-year-old inviting other 12-year-olds to their home, then you understand, you can see that this is just a cesspot for pool for human trafficking to begin. And oftentimes it's through the sexual assault program that that those victims, the initial contact with victims. And then I think your third question dealt with our collaboration with the magistrate's office. Last year, in 2021, I had an opportunity to speak with Chris Sullivan because we were having a lot of calls, or not necessarily calls, but we were seeing on the weekends that there were several victims coming in to the magistrate's office needing assistance with a domestic violence protective order. We know that it may not be the priority of the magistrate to meet that need initially because they're dealing with arrest warrants that are coming in, et cetera. And Chris and I spoke, and I asked him, did he feel that having access to an advocate in the evening and on the weekends that would be able to help victims complete that paperwork, if that would be a benefit to the magistrate's office. And that has proven to be a benefit. When a victim comes in, they contact Harbor. Harbor's advocate right currently is able to remotely assist them with completing that paperwork, but it is our goal to be able to sit down with them face to face in order to complete that paperwork, so that we can also share with them other services that they may need in that moment. And also, we also know that what's upcoming is that the state of North Carolina is going to become electronic with all of our judicial paperwork. And I can't imagine a victim at 2 o'clock in the morning going to McDonald's, having a laptop, completing the paperwork, printing the paperwork, and then taking it to the magistrate's office. So we're trying to be proactive as an organization. We know that it's coming. It's been delayed now for a few months, but we know it is coming. And so we want to make sure that we have that person in place, so when a victim at 2 o'clock in the morning needs assistance, then we have an identified secure location that we can meet with that victim, complete that paperwork, assist them in completing that paperwork so they can get it to the magistrates. Because my staff was able to also go through the system, and it was difficult for my staff. So if it's difficult for my staff, then I know it's going to be much more so for victims.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
Sorry, first of all, the bilingual thing jumped off the page at me. That's why I asked. I wanted to make sure, because if you only have one, they cannot be available 24 hours a day, and it's going to become more and more important. Have you also seen an increase in calls since the moratorium on rentals has been lifted, and do you see that being an issue in the future? Because we get a lot of phone calls with regards to that, too, I can only imagine.
Our phone calls as it relates to rental assistance or homelessness has increased 40 to 50% in the past 5 months. In the past 30 days, it has increased, I would say, almost 50 to 60%. That people are calling our agency. They're indicating that they are domestic violence. And if they indicate that they're domestic violence, we are mandated to serve them based upon that conversation. But as conversations and assessment continues, the reality is they are homeless, and homeless with an eviction. So moving forward is difficult. It will be difficult for them to find permanent housing, long-term permanent housing, as we move forward. So we are seeing an uptick dramatically in those particular calls.
I just feel that's probably one more place. It's using your resources now, but you're going to have to become a resource for as well.
And that's what we try to do. When people call, we don't want to turn people away, because we understand that we're not just talking about single men or single women, but we're talking about families. We're talking about young children who need some stability. And it is our goal to make sure that we can provide them with resources, not necessarily in our county, but we have provided referrals as far as Lenoir County for people to be able to have a secure place to stay.
Listening to you, it sounds to me that your scope has really changed in regard to the amount of service that you're trying to offer. And so the expansion of what's needed in this county for typical things that don't fall directly under what the Harbor does is you're a catch-all for it.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one comment. I just want to say how much we appreciate the work that you do. It's while it's heart-wrenching that we have a need for this, the need is real, and you're serving people that I hear a lot of stories from serving on the DSS board as well. And there are so many needs out there among people, and I'm just thankful that you're there serving the needs of these folks. It's very important to the citizens, and we're thankful that you're doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
No other questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
One comment to make. You know, I'm
Okay.
going to talk about pay.
Kay, would you slide and let her get in front of the microphone?
That mic won't reach my, there you go. I just want to elaborate on Kay's dedication to the county we live in, the area we live in, and through the pandemic, some of you know this, I'm not sure all of you know this, but Kay was strongly encouraged by our grantors we couldn't do congregate living, but they didn't want us to do congregate living either, which meant that a lot of agencies, in fact, the majority of agencies in the state, did not provide services for victims. Our agency never stopped providing care for our folks. Kay was able to get a grant that allowed us to book hotel rooms and in our county. So we also collaborated with businesses when nobody was staying in hotel rooms. So we were one of 3 agencies in the state that we have never stopped providing services since the pandemic started. So I just can't give enough accolades to this woman and her dedication and her team. She has an amazing team. And thank you for listening, and we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, next up, we have Johnston County Association of Teachers Assistants, and we have Miss Melanie Autry here, I think, to speak to us.
Hard act to follow. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Hester, I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today. I am Melanie Autry, the president of the Johnston County Association of Teacher Assistants. Budgeting for the county has to be a tremendous challenge, and I understand that. But I think that our school budget is one of major importance. It is our future, and it is our present. So I feel like you need to hear from people who are in the system that sometimes get disrespected, overlooked, however you would like to put it. Teacher assistants, instructional assistants, paraeducators, however you want to address us. Most of us go by instructional assistants now. But we filled a number of roles over the last year. We have subbed in classes. We have drove 3 bus routes instead of 1. We've drove 6 bus routes at certain times. At the beginning of this school year, Johnston County was down 100 instructional assistants, which means either a child was missing out on what they needed, or it just wasn't, someone else was filling that role, and that kept their kids short from being able to do it. As we look at this upcoming year, there is 237 classified positions. Out of those 237, 141 are instructional assistants. We have 48 schools in the county. If you took 10 assistants for each school, and I am telling you that is low for elementary, some of our elementaries have up to 30 instructional assistants. Some of our high schools may not have but 7. Our middle schools maybe have 3 or 4. So if you take an average of 10, that's 480. That would give us 30% of our workforce is no longer there. We've lost them. Part of that has to do with dual employment. Part of that has to do with the fact that they don't want to drive a bus. You know, part of that has to do, and a large part of that has to do with our pay. Many times the instructional assistants would board a bus at 5 in the morning, drive 3 routes, come back, fulfill their classroom duties, leave early, so it left kindergarten classes and special needs classes in particularly without assistance, which put us, as far as the special needs population is concerned, out of compliance. And they would go drive 3 bus routes in the afternoon, so it would be 5:30 or 6 o'clock when they got home. After they got home, they're going in and they're working on classroom stuff that, because they had to leave, didn't get fulfilled, and at the same time trying to take care of their own families. Everyone in the school system was like that this year. when you have an assistant principal who is cleaning bathrooms and serving lunch on a cafeteria line because of being shorthanded, it's not just teacher assistants, it was everybody. Unfortunately, teacher assistants are not paid what they needed to be. Oh, and just for the record, we are down as of Friday afternoon when I talked to the county office. We have 183.5 certified vacancies already for this coming up school year. We, like every other school employee, are tired. In your mind, you're thinking, well, these TAs are paid for driving that bus and they're paid for pulling in the classroom times. Yes and no, because we choose to do extra work at home because we don't want our kids that we're responsible for to get behind. You know, if we don't have time to get paperwork that they're going to need the next day done before we have to leave our classrooms, then we're staying up at night and getting it done. And so that's on us. We choose to do that because we love our students. And as far as the bus is concerned, yes, they are getting paid, and I'll address that in just a second. They're not getting paid what drivers onlys are. The school board, last school board meeting, voted to give a $17.50 an hour to drivers only to make the county more marketable, because with other businesses like Amazon coming in, $17.50 is hardly going to attract people to want to drive buses for our students. But that was to alleviate. We had 27 vacant buses this year that staff from our transportation department had to fill in for. So they thought, well, if we can get drivers only, it will alleviate the dual position, and that was great for some of our TAs, and it was not great for those single parents or those people who depended on that bus route money to make ends meet. We are below poverty level. If you will look in your pamphlets that I handed out to you, you have the county budget for TAs and the county budget for bus drivers based on the level of years you work, depends on what your pay is. You also have what the state has mandated that between this amount and this amount, so I have the state schematic up there also. But you will also see that I provided a copy of the final page of the county employee budget. As TAs, I realize that's based on a 12-month calendar. So I did the math, and I divided that pay by the 12 months and got a monthly figure. Added 10 of those together because we're 10-month employees, and we're still almost $10,000 under in our paychecks what the lowest paid county employee is. We had the mandate of $15 an hour from the state. Most counties that are surrounding us went ahead and gave their TAs that at the beginning of the school year, or at least at Christmas. It started for the second semester. There was no money in the budget for Johnston County. Johnston County came back and did give us a rate increase. A first-year TA that would have started out at $12.96 before, then started at $13.50. For a 20-year employee, they're making $13.33 an hour. Or they were making $13.33 an hour. They're now making $14.14 an hour. My paycheck after insurance comes out, and Chris will be speaking about this in a minute, my paycheck after the insurances, my husband had cancer last year, so I will not drop my cancer insurance, but that is extra out of my paycheck. Accident insurance, extra put away for retirement, whatever we choose to do. By the time all of that comes out, There has been months that my bring home was in the $900 a month range. I have a great husband who knows I love my job, and he allows me to be able to say that, you know, do your job. He loves the kids that I work with. I'm special needs. But if he did not have the job that he has, there is absolutely no way we could live. I do not make enough bring home each month to pay the mortgage. And I mean, that's not tooting my horn. That's across the board. I've been with the county 17 years. So imagine what people walking in and out of the street just getting a job is. I understand that we have to be market competitive when we offer new jobs and when we go that way, but the people who work in the county need to be at that market average also. We need to be able to provide for our families. Another thing, several states recognize and divide instructional assistants and judge their pay on the training that they have. Again, I'm going to use myself. I am not alone in this, but I will use myself because I know my statistics. I am CPR, first aid, certified physical intervention, EpiPen, catheterization on students, feeding tubes on students, both bolus and learning to run their specific pump for the volume of food that they need specific. I am trained to administer medication. I am trained on seizure and administrating major drugs in case the seizure goes long before the ambulance gets there. And that's not a pleasant thing to do. I am also trained with diabetes, how to check it, how to manage it, when it's important to call. And I also have given the shots of insulin. I receive the same pay as a TA who has none of the training. You know, you could be a clerical TA doing nothing but running off copies in a copy room. So there's no grounds for, you know, saying, well, you're trained in this, so you get a step up in your pay. And I mean, I knew that when I took my job. I love my job. I wouldn't want to do anything else. I thrive off of being able to assist my special needs students. There's where my heart is. There's where my passion is. That is my calling. So this is not just about money, but I do feel like that you need to hear where we're at. We're losing good people every day because they can no longer afford to assist our children.
Ms. Altrad, so is there a request here, or do you just want to update us and inform us on?
I just kind of want to let you know where the school budget is and what it's for. In talking to Dr. Bracey, we have found several things that would help and benefit the classified employees in this county, but the budget's not there. The funding's not there. And so, you know, it's kind of like that scale, and you're kind of in that bottom level, and we've gone without raises for a long time. And some of the proposal in the school budget this year is to be able to provide raises for us.
Okay. Yeah, I think we've seen that. I don't want to quote numbers, but I remember 1550, and it seems like 1750 for bus drivers. So, I mean, I know they're trying to separate the duties between
right.
TAs
But the
and bus drivers.
1750 is only for drivers only. The people who are currently TAs, custodians, and cafeteria workers that are driving those buses now will not get the 1750 per hour.
Can I ask you a question? I'm a little confused.
Yes, sir.
I think it was a push last year by the Johnston County Public School System to hire full-time bus drivers. I think they asked for, in their request, $1.5 million to proceed ahead to hire bus drivers. So you're telling me tonight it's still shared duties in a lot of situations?
In most situations, yes, sir, it's still dual employment. They are pushing now to hire more. I know their goal is to have 30 driver-onlys at the beginning of the school year, which won't affect any of us that drive buses because we had 27 routes that had no drivers last year. So that's just to keep us up to speed. We do have drivers only already in the county. I guess what I'm saying is what they're saying is marketable fee for our bus drivers that we hired just for bus drivers only doesn't include those of us who are driving buses every day.
You say, excuse me, you say 30 total, or is that
That their goal is 30.
the total 30?
For right now. I mean, they want to eventually hire drivers only for all the routes to do away with dual employment, but their hope is to have at least 30 by the beginning of next school year.
I'm trying to divide 30 into 1.5 million. It doesn't really work too good for me.
Now, there are other drivers only out there that are not included in that new hire.
So you talk about 30 new hire.
30 new hire.
Plus, how many do they have now?
I do not have those numbers.
Okay, how many TAs and cafeteria workers drive buses? Do you know? Does your association know?
I do not have that figure in front of me, but I can tell you this. There's not a TA. I'm exempt from driving medically. My doctor just will not let me drive. I enjoyed driving the bus, and when I stopped, it took $400 a month out of my paycheck. So, yeah. But there's very few exemptions in the county, and every TA, every cafeteria worker drives a bus unless they don't have license. So it's not, I mean, we are hiring drivers only, and we have more routes than we have TAs because, and cafeteria workers and custodians because our numbers are so down.
Again, let me interrupt. Do you get the same pay when you're driving the bus?
No, the bus drivers, if you will look on the scale, the bus drivers that are TAs and bus drivers got the $15 an hour raise. So that's scaled. So they get a different wage for driving than they do for being in the classroom.
Okay, $15. So it's still not to the point where they say they want 30 more. It's $17.50. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, okay. The new hires will be $17.50 an hour. That, doesn't. My TAs are having a real hard time with that, and it is what it is. And if you look at the other paperwork that I've given you in the packet to see, we are ranked pre-COVID. We are ranked number 46 in the nation for pay for our TAs in North Carolina. And if you look at paraprofessionals and special ed TAs, we are number 50 in the nation on our pay scales. Johnston County is one of the lower paid counties in the state, and we're one of the most growing. We've got no room in our schools, and we need everybody to be on task and on target to be able to provide for these children. Our goal is our children. And so I guess that's what I wanted to say to y'all is we need the school budget passed so that we can get hopefully get a living wage so that we don't keep losing our qualified people.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I appreciate your passion for what you're doing, and it sounds like you're a wonderful advocate for the children. I guess I'm confused in that, have you taken this same presentation to the school board?
I will speak to the school board tomorrow night. I have taken this presentation. However, Dr. Bracey has everything you have. He approved for me to come.
Okay. But let me add this. Here's the part that I'm confused with is we have no control over setting those salaries. That's the school board thing. Now, last year, the current year that we're in, and Mr. Braswell just alluded to that somewhat, we funded 100% of everything the school board asked for.
Yes.
So if they didn't take that money and apply it toward where the problem areas are, then that's a conversation with the school board. I mean, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, we did get a raise.
Okay.
Very minor, but we did get a raise. But it was not enough to make ends meet. And I realize that you cannot control what they do with the money.
Right.
But we just would like to ask for the school budget to be, in talking with the county office and some of our school board members, we have been told that this will happen if funds are available. I'm just asking that funds be available so that will happen.
Okay.
All right. I know you brought a gentleman with you, and if he could be very brief, I think we understand what you're saying.
I just wanted to put some facts out there as to where our school system stands.
Mr.
and
Chairman,
what we're losing.
I just want to say one thing. You've made a good presentation. I'm not sure, as Commissioner Harris said, this might not be the place it needs to be, but you've made a great presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. And be in prayer with me tomorrow night, because I will be in front of our school board.
Okay.
I get 3 minutes. So, yeah, I'm not sure how good that will do, but we'll see.
Well, I'll assure you, I talked a little bit faster than you did tonight. If
If you get it done in 3 minutes.
I understand.
Yeah.
I'm from Johnston County.
I understand.
Thank you for your presentation.
Did you
Thank
have
you very much.
something separate you needed to, okay, if you could be brief, please.
Based on piggyback what he said, and as far as y'all know, Johnston County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state.
Would you mind stating your name? If you
Chris Brown.
Chris Brown.
Again, Johnston County is one of the fastest growing counties in the state, and what funds we approve now is not going to be in the future. So, here I go. Ground beef, $7.60. Pork chops, $9.45. Chicken, $8.76. Beef stew, $12.97. Milk, $3.69. Bread, $2.50. Cereal, $4.87. Hot dogs, $6.97. Turkey wings, $12.69. And gas, $100. For a total of $169.50 for a week. For grand total for the month is $678. Good evening. Again, my name is Chris Brown. And do you know most classified staff in Johnston County schools, TAs, cafeteria workers, and bus drivers qualify for food stamps?
Mr. Brown, I would just say, I think this is probably not the right, I mean, I would appreciate, again, your passion, but I think probably the school board is the best place to take this to, but we do.
Yeah, we get it. We understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
With that being said, it's for a family of 3. They don't take the basic needs where we have TAs and other kind of staff working 3 to 4 part-time jobs just to cover the basic needs to pay out electric bills, phone bills, rent, and mortgage, and medication. It's quite disturbing when we hear our local leaders say you support Johnston County schools and the staff and fall short of what y'all promised us. If you truly support us, we ask you to support the budget that Johnston County School Board and Dr. Bracey submit to run the schools and pay the classified staff a proper living wage. I have a saying, one way to lose a fight is not to fight. Today we stand, bleed, and fight for a wage increase so we as citizens, voters, and employees of Johnston County do not have to fight or struggle to live in Johnston County. The average take-home pay for a teacher assistant or classified staff is $1,632. And again, to refer back to my other amount that I just read to you is $678. That's a big chunk of our paycheck. Yeah. As I close, I'll leave you with just one question. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to help us?
And
I
I will say that if you feel that the county commissioners would like to help the TAs in the county out and give us some, we could give you a number.
Well, again, I think we don't tell the school board how to spend their money, so we
Correct.
provide the money. So
We're just asking for the budget to be provided so that they can provide for us.
One thing I think it's important to understand is, and I understand what you're saying, I get it, and I appreciate you being willing to come and share it with us. But we fund a request based on what the school board asked for. In the current budget year, they got every penny they asked for.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if they haven't provided the increases, then I don't have an answer for you. But I will say this, let me add this to it. They did not expend the entire amount that was appropriated by the county last year. There is money left over that was not spent. So I'm just saying that to be honest and transparent with you, that I think this is a school board conversation that you need to have with it. This board is not the ones that is withholding funds from you or the teacher's assistants or the cafeteria workers or the bus drivers or anybody else. We don't have any control over that at all. We get a budget request from the school system. We fund that budget request, and for many years, the schools have not even spent the total amount that has been appropriated by the county. I just think you need to understand that and know that.
That is a shame.
My mom's a retired TA and bus driver in Johnston County, and I would agree with you. So,
Like I said, we just kind of wanted to ask that the budget be funded because we're just hoping.
Okay, well,
Thank you so much for your
Thank you very
time.
much.
Thank y'all for coming along. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you, Chris.
All right, next up, we have Smithfield Rescue Mission. Anyone here from, there we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, here comes Ben. Hey, Ben.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you. Thank you for every year. Thank you for what you do in our community and how you serve everyone. I brought with me tonight Kate Reed and Bobby Hughes, two staff members. We have, I'm just going to say, the best staff, I think, in this side of the Mississippi. Maybe it's the other side of the Mississippi too. But just want to thank y'all and really appreciate the work y'all do. And it is not easy. I know that. So I'll start with, I've got some papers for you. And I'll hand those.
yeah, we'll just pass them. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll go over a quick list of bullet points here. So, of course, for anybody that's watching that doesn't know, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We help people that are experiencing homelessness, and we provide programs and services to help break that cycle of poverty and homelessness. And we've been doing it for 45 years. This is our 45th year. What a big, what an honor it is. I'm in my 19th year personally, and it's my work. It's also my calling. When those two line up, sometimes, I mean, that's amazing. Of course, Paul and Margie, my mom and dad, 45 years total, plus really. So we're just, it's a privilege and an honor to do what we do, to serve the Lord and serve the people of our area, not just Johnston, but all the surrounding areas too.
Ben, excuse me, for the sake of our listening audience, you're Ben Olson with Smithfield Rescue Mission.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. Ben Olson with the Smithfield Rescue Mission here. I went right in the interest of time. But
Thank you for that.
yeah, I'll be as brief as I can. If you look down the list here, the number at the bottom that we're requesting is $28,000, which probably doesn't add up with the figures that you see there. We're figuring some of this will come from some other, but we wanted to request at least $28,000 for this year. There is an increase as opposed to last year. Normally, it's been $21,000 for the last few years. And as you can see on page 2, the reasons for that, one being that we really need to increase our security at our women and children's house, and we need a heavy-duty fence to do that. Those are not cheap, as you know, and that's one of the main requests. The second one is replacements of 2 HVAC units in 2 buildings. And it would happen now, wouldn't it, in stagflation city America. And so we're requesting an increase this year, probably just for this year. Next year we would likely just ask for I won't tell you that I won't ask for more next year, of course. As Kay would say, I don't want to do a disservice to, Kay with Harbor would say, I wouldn't want to do a disservice to the rescue mission in that way. We're really appreciative to everybody that partners with us to help, and we're really appreciative to just the entire community that comes along and is a part of what we do. And I think I've hit all the high points, and I've done it in less than 4 minutes, I
Your
think.
record
Yeah.
So if y'all have any questions, I'd be willing to answer at this moment.
I'll do one, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ben, for coming, and you've been very faithful. I'm sure you heard Kay Johnston's request. And do you take any pressure away from Harbor? Can you relieve any of their requests that come in from individuals that doesn't necessarily meet what their guidelines, like the homeless on 95? Are you able to do that?
We are able some, and we have a good friendship with Kay and the folks at Harbor. And we're not always able to do that due to space. And that's something that we want to tackle in the coming year or two, is extra space at our women and children's house. That's something that is definitely coming down the pike. Tonight, I wanted to focus on safety at our women and children's house and increasing that. But you bet, I mean, we're able to help in some cases. Of course, it's always case by case. So, yeah, we love Kay, we love Harbor, and we really do. We love to work alongside them, and we're able to help them at different times.
Mr. Chairman, I actually have a comment.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to thank you and your family for all the, I worked emergency services in Smithfield for almost 30 years, and I can tell you there's been so many times that your family has opened the doors and brought in people that had no place else to be.
Yeah.
And there was no place for them to go, and it's just a legacy of service to this community and to this county. And I appreciate very much what you're doing, and appreciate your mom and dad and all your whole family has dedicated their lives to helping others, and that's really, really phenomenal. So thank you for all that you're doing for the Smithfield Rescue Mission.
You're very welcome, and I appreciate you, Mr. Vice Chairman Harris. You mean a lot to us, and really appreciate. Thank you for those kind words.
Any other comments or questions for Mr. Olson? Mr. Olson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Rodney Cabe with Moccasin Creek Service District Board. Evening, Mr. Cabe.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. I'm going to be real brief. I'm going to read a letter that we sent in to Rick on March 21st of this year. Rick, the Moccasin Creek Service District is its March 17th meeting discussed the need for additional funding to maintain 22 miles of Moccasin Creek and related tributaries with the established watershed. Our recent and accepted bid for annual maintenance was $33,000 for the calendar year 23, and calendar year 24 was $35,000. The next bid came in at $45,000. The 2020 the revenue generated at the tax rate established and collected by the county at .15 per 100 valuation was $27,684.72. Based on this rate, the service district does not collect adequate revenue to cover the cost of the annual maintenance contract. Due to increased runoff generated by development of commercial, industrial, and residential plans approved and submitted to the towns of Selma, Pine Level, Princeton, and county jurisdictions, maintaining a stable channel at Moccasin Creek is becoming more difficult. Protection of the product for the property, roads, public utilities, and farmlands within the watershed is directly related to the stability and maintenance of the drainage channels. As you work through your budget planning for fiscal year 22-23, please consider including the tax increase in the tax rate from .015 to .030 per 100 for all property included in the Moccasin Creek Service District. Thank you for your consideration. So at this point, we're about 17%, 20% underwater. no pun intended. Now, with the increase in diesel doubling, I'm sure that, you know, our bid that we have for the upcoming year, this guy's going to seek an increase. So if this particular gentleman that's been doing this maintenance the whole time decides that he's no longer going to do that and we have to fall back to our secondary bidder based on, you know, inflation rates that we're looking at as far as operating expenses for gas and, you know, vehicles, even if you do what we had requested, it's probably going to take everything that we have requested just to mow the grass on the creek. And that's just to mow the grass.
How do storms, I think I have a lot of experience in this, but how do storms affect you?
I was going to ask the same question about Matthews and Floyd's. With that contract, does it accept certain things like that?
Okay, this is just to mow the grass on the creek from Highway 39 down to the Holtz Pond. So what we really need is we need money so we can go after additional funding. We have a really great guy, Greg Walker, up at Soil and Water now. He is fantastic. I like working with him. He is a go-getter. We are working on grants anywhere we can get it. If we come up that we have a matching grant that we put in for, it'll take everything we got in our treasury just to match to get that grant. So we could be looking at a zero sum with no money to mow the grass if we don't get some type of increase. I mean, we would appreciate if we do get this grant that we're working on with Selma, we would appreciate that $150,000, you know, so we can do more work. We right now are in the process of having Wildlands Engineering go through and do an assessment on the canal. It's my understanding they were supposed to start on June 6th, and they're going to come back and give us 3 phases that they think we should go through. So one will be the most important issues that we're going to look at, which is probably going to be bank stabilization. Once we get that done, we'll go for some more money, and we're working on a plan of action to stabilize the creek. Before Matthew, we had hired Wildlands to go through and do this very same thing, and then after Matthew came, everything on the creek changed. So now that we're adding, you know, new population to the eastern part of the county, we're getting more hard surface runoff, and the only place it has to go is the creek.
Right.
And if we don't get the water, you know, regulated, then you're not going to be able to get to the beach. It just floods.
You heard earlier tonight, Chris Willis talked about beaver problems. Does that affect the Moccasin Creek much?
Okay, so we did have a standing contract for beaver removal on the creek. We just voted this particular year not to renew that contract because we weren't seeing any beavers. Okay, so that was the reason. I'm glad that you know, we have that contact because we didn't exercise that as far as I know.
Right.
We had 2 private individuals that you know, that were helping us on that. But should that become another problem, you know, we'll attack that as it comes. Right now, we're not seeing an issue with beavers.
Now, historically, the tax rate on this in the past has been as high as 4 cents. Is that right? And you're talking about going from 1.5 to 3.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And Ted, if you'll remember, we had you and some other over before, and we had requested this at our own meeting. And, you know, we knew there was a tax increase coming for the citizens, and you guys said y'all would help us out if we need help. So I'm asking for it at this point.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'm still a member of the Moccasin Creek Drainage Board. I stepped down as chairman when I became appointed as county commissioner, but I can tell you that in our conversations with Wildlands, they told us it would be no far stretch to spend $15 million on that canal and not really solve all the problems that are there. There's 22 miles of that canal, main canal, and lots of ditches, that tributaries that come into that. So if the people of Pine Level and Selma if that canal were suddenly filled in, we'd lose a lot of our tax base in those 2 towns because it's the primary drainage source for those areas.
Well, right now, if we get a substantial amount of rain, I can tell you that where I live is just on the east side of Pine Level. As you're taking 70 business outside of town, you're going to cross the Moccasin Creek. That's that bridge. If we get a substantial amount of rain, it will back up, and the rain will start coming. The water will start coming over 70 there. And, you know, it's a hazard for people coming. It's a blind curve there. Don't matter which way you're coming from.
Yeah.
So, of course, when we're getting a hurricane, that's one thing I'm looking at is to see, you know, is anybody stuck down there?
Right.
So, you know, we need to be able to control this water and, you know, get it to a place where having these people put retention ponds in. But, I mean, we've got a place now with the power pole has just about fell in the creek. So there's a lot of need there, but right now, without any matching funds or any additional tax money, we're going backwards.
And just for the record, Rodney doesn't get paid. He's not an executive director. He's a volunteer. And I think two of us up here pay that tax, you know. I don't know where you pay it or not, Ted, to reach you that far.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm close to the beginning of it, of the watershed, but I'm not in it.
Yeah, but, you know, we were at a level and came down and these years, you know. So, you know, you've asked for the very minimum for tax increase. And so,
well, like I said, that's just the motor grass. So, you know, that's what we're here for. But we do have, you know, a grant proposal in with Selma. And if we get that grant, we're going to have to come up with $150,000 to get our money.
Yeah. And we did have water over there on that 70 when it rained real hard. I don't know, 4 or 5 months ago. You know, it covered.
It comes across right there.
It come across.
And, you know, I do have the wildland study that shows, you know, what our critical places are. Well, then that's the things that they're going to be looking at. So we're in the process of it. If you guys want to see anything that we're doing, feel free to ask me. I'll get you everything you need. Greg can get it to you. Come to the meeting. But right now, all I'm doing is trying to ask for money to mow the grass. If you can see your way to, you know, give us $150,000 contingency on getting the grant, I'd love that. But like I said, I mean, I'm a lifelong resident of Johnston County, and, you know, it's coming. The growth ring is coming, and it's here. And when we start building houses over there, the water's going to start getting high.
It's important to note that Pine Level could nearly double its size now with just homes that are on the drawing board, that have been already approved by planning or that are in the planning stage, have not been submitted yet, but they have made known that they're going to be designing. So we could double the population of the size of the town.
I've got a question, Mr. Chairman, about who is in the taxing zone? I mean, has that need to be expanded?
Everybody that is attributable, their property is in that watershed. If their water off their lot drains to Moccasin Creek, they pay the tax. For 30 years, it was 95 farmers that paid the tax. And they said it was supposed to be over, so there's a lot of animosity toward the project. But now everybody that has water that runs into that canal pays the tax. And we've done extensive studies to make sure that people that are not in there are taken out, and people that were their water drained there and they weren't a part of it were added to it. So that's been done, really studied with a fine-tooth comb.
And sometimes we have people who tie into the drainage that ain't supposed to be tying into the drainage.
So, Rodney, as new people add on, what is how do you get their on the books to pay the tax?
Well,
the property does, if it doesn't drain into the district, then if it already drains into the district and they dig a ditch, it's just going to bring it faster, but it's not going, because of the contours of the land where Quosin Swamp and Baldy Swamp and all those places, there's a crest to a certain point. From that point, it drains somewhere else. But if it's in that watershed that drains to Moccasin Creek, it's about a, 6,500 acre watershed, I think.
I don't know the exact.
But anyway, that watershed, if you're in that watershed, no matter what you do, if you go in there and improve the property, cut ditches, whatever, the tax has to be paid. You get the tax on the new added value. But the land itself is already taxed in the tax district.
Okay, so it makes a difference if
Right.
If, you know, it's just, you build houses on the farmland and it's already in that district.
Right.
It's going to transfer over.
Right.
If you've got $1 million worth of investment, you pay a tax on $1 million
Okay.
in your investment.
All right, anything else?
I appreciate what you and the board does.
We appreciate it, Ted.
Thank you.
It's very
All right,
important.
thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
y'all have a good evening.
And I believe we have one person, then there were one, yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, and Board. I'm Julie Hopkins. I am the Acting Executive Director for Reentry Family Services. I believe y'all been speaking some with Ms. Dot Ehlers. She's currently on medical leave, so I'm here filling in for her today. I know she has sent in some letters in the past that you guys have had requesting $50,000 for next year's budget. I just want you to know what services we provide if you're not really familiar with us. We offer HALT, Batterers Intervention Programming for men convicted of domestic violence. We offer parenting classes for parents that are involved with social services, and we offer interpersonal skills groups for youth that are justice involved. I sat up here and listened to Ms. Kay Johnston, known Kay forever. I graduated high school with her. She does an amazing job. I was on the board for Harbor. Harbor does an amazing job. But if we can't continue to do what we do, then Harbor's going to have an increase in the services that they're having to provide. We are the only Council for Women approved batterers treatment program in Johnston County. We're the only one that provides that service. It is mandated by law that if you are convicted of a domestic violence offense, that you have to attend a batterers treatment program. Yet there's no funding. There's no funding by the state for any of those services. We rely solely on grants, and we rely on the kindness of others to fund our program. We have very little. We're not buying fences. We don't need air conditioners. We don't need all those things, but we do need to pay our employees. And since 2019, we have lost over $110,000 a year in revenue because of grants. We also use VOCA grants, and we lost them the same time that Ms. Johnson lost hers. We've applied for some this year because they have changed the focus. And but pandemic killed us. We weren't having clients come into the office, so we weren't able to provide, the services like we had been previously. So I just wanted to let you know that we do need your support for continued operation of our agency. I know we've requested 50. We'll be glad to take whatever you can give us. We just need the support from you guys.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
thank you
you.
very much. It doesn't look like there's anyone else. I did want to say that we did have a request from Special Olympics of Johnston County for $15,000. You should have a copy of an email at your place. So, all right. If there isn't anyone else to come before us, then I will.
I've got a comment, Mr. Chairman, if appropriate. We got an email from a citizen who gives us a lot of emails and a lot of good suggestions, thoughtful suggestions. And he recommended that we have more of a presentation like this, maybe to the staff before they formulate the budget. And my first thought on that was that's a good idea. But then I got to thinking further about it, and with that kind of approach, it puts the staff in an awkward position of having to be very subjective in making the decision whether it comes to us or not, modifying they've massaged the numbers, they've looked at the needs, looked at the budget, looked at the revenue, and came up with a recommendation. And then all of these other requests, I think, is very appropriate to come to this body to massage that final number and not put the staff in an awkward position of making those subjective calls. So I think we're doing it right.
The buck stops here.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah, and again, that citizen is very thoughtful, and I really appreciate his input from time to time. He's got some great suggestions. But after thinking about it, I don't know that we can improve on this process.
Goes with a job description.
Yep.
All right. Any other comments?
If not, I would just say that we meet next Monday, the 20th, to consider adoption of our budget. So just make note of that if you're now left watching, other than the ones in here that are employees and staff. So just make that note, next Monday, 6 o'clock, we will be back at our regular mid-month meeting, and we will consider adoption of the fiscal year 2022-23 budget. So with that said, I hear a motion to adjourn.
Move adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.